Coming up on this edition of MHS Rewind, the coronavirus is causing more changes in the MSD of Martinsville. We'll talk with the district's communications director and the district's Dean of Student Services, Audrey Jackson, to get the latest. And we'll give you an up-close look at how the coronavirus is impacting healthcare workers. We'll talk to one who works at the COVID unit in an area hospital.
And in sports, we'll take a look at the girls basketball team and hear from the players and their new head coach about their hot start to the season. And we'll hear how the boys basketball team plans to improve from last season. Good afternoon, MHS. I'm Braxton Dilly.
And I'm Cole Meyer. We'll have all those stories and more next on MHS Rewind. The coronavirus numbers in Morgan County are at an all-time high. The positivity rate is nearly 19%, and the county moved to red on Wednesday. Red means high community spread according to the Indiana Department of Health's color-coded map. The county's move to red, however, did not change any of the stoplight levels for schools in the MSD of Martinsville. The high school remains on red, and the rest of the schools are on yellow at least until Christmas break. We're joined now by MSD of Martinsville Communications Director Jane Burke. How does the district go about deciding the stoplight color for schools?
So for decisions for us for the stoplight, the decisions that we make are not easy, but they include a lot of people. So our main form of recommendation or main form of guidance is going to be from our Morgan County Health Department. So the Morgan County Health Department works with the state health department, who then also works with the Centers for Disease Control. So all of those people sort of help us determine what next steps are going to be.
What happens once those conversations with the Board of Health have taken place?
Then the next step is to talk to our principals and to our directors, who can help us also assess what's happening at that moment within their departments or within their schools in order to keep everyone safe and students supervised in a safe manner.
What's the best way for students, parents, and staff to stay up to date on some of the district's decisions and what may be coming next?
We have a couple of different ways for that to happen. One is the COVID dashboard that is updated every Monday and Wednesday. So it has information on there such as positive cases, how many people are in quarantine, sort of what the community looks like right now with respect to the state's dashboard. So all of that information can be found there.
The county's move to red did prompt a change in the spectator guidelines for extracurricular and co-curricular events in the district. We're joined now by the district's Dean of School Services, Audrey Jackson. She handles most of the COVID-related issues in the district. Ms. Jackson, what are those new spectator guidelines?
So the recommendation for co-curricular and extracurricular activities in red is that the only attendees are those participating, parents and guardians, and those needed to put the event on, so school personnel, security, or to host the event.
Was there any thought about postponing or canceling those activities altogether?
We rely a lot on what the health department tells us is a good idea, and also guidance from the State Board of Health. So right now, both of those are saying we're okay to have these events. We also have done a really good job of making sure when there is a positive case associated with co-curriculars or extracurricular activities that we've contact traced, and we've quarantined individuals or quarantined entire groups or entire teams to make sure it's as safe as possible.
You're in constant contact with the health department and are in charge of tracking cases and contact tracing in the district. Do you have a feel for how long it'll be before we get back to normal with all of this?
I do think that once we get past the winter, that we will be in a very similar situation that we were at the beginning of the year, where we will we'll have cases here and there, but it won't be like we're currently experiencing. And I truly hope that we will get to a position, hopefully after break, where we can all be open again, all in green, and safely operate in green. So I don't think that we're going to be in a situation anytime this year where we're going to be walking down the halls and not wearing masks, or we're not going to be contact tracing if there's positive cases, or we're not going to be, sending students home if they have multiple symptoms that we normally wouldn't be doing, or asking students to stay home if they have multiple symptoms that we normally wouldn't be doing. But I don't think we're going to be in a situation like we were last spring. And I don't think we're going to continue with how we've been operating for the last month for hopefully much longer.
Martinsville High School remains on the red stoplight like we mentioned earlier. That means there is no in-person instruction. Students learn remotely 5 days a week. However, the high school changed the structure of that e-learning for students starting last week. Students now must join daily Zoom meetings Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday for each of their classes. Those meetings can last up to 30 minutes and replace the daily attendance question.
The MSD of Martinsville switched the high school to red in early November, and they switched the elementary and middle schools to the yellow hybrid schedules on November 30th. Those changes affected many families, including my own. My whole family is involved with the school district, even my grandma. My mom is a Spanish teacher at Bell, and my dad is the assistant special ed director. My brother Maddox goes to Wooden, and my other brother Bo is here at the high school with me. And my grandmother Jane is an instructional assistant in the Apex lab at the high school as well. Here's our story in an Mhs Rewind in Focus.
It's impacted our family a lot, not just because everybody's e-learning, but because I have 2 kids at the high school and they're just totally on red, so they're at home all the time. I have one at Wooden, so now he's on yellow. So getting kids, people here, people there at different times, it's a little challenging.
Well, it's harder to learn since I'm at home and I can't get the full experience that I would if I was in the classroom. And the assignments are all online, so it's just a little bit more difficult.
A lot of times I don't have Wi-Fi, so it's hard to access my assignment, but that's really the only problem.
This time around is much different than it was in the spring when we were just thrown into it with basically no notice and had to learn how to teach and learn virtually on the fly. We were in the same boat as everyone else in the state, everyone else in the country, everyone in the world really. But once we had some time over the summer to come up with a plan, our red, yellow, and green phases that allow us to determine how much we can actually be together face to face and still do that safely. I think we're in a much better place now, e-learning wise, than we were in the spring.
There's more accountability. There's more communication. I have emailed students and they've emailed me back. They've asked questions. And in the spring, we really didn't know what was going on.
It's a lot easier now than it was in the spring because students know what to do now. Teachers are all on the same page. They all know how to create the Google Docs. Everything syncs together a lot better than it did in the spring.
I don't like not being able to see my students, to have that connection with them. I can email them, but I have no idea what they look like. It's just better if they can be in class, I think.
Talking and interacting with students has always been kind of the highlight of my day, and we've done so much e-learning that just hasn't been the same as it normally has in years past.
We've continued to make some improvements, add some opportunities and expectations from a student standpoint and from a teacher standpoint. And as long as we're forced to be in this virtual environment, I think we'll continue to get better and improve throughout the school year.
Healthcare workers are on the front line of the battle against the coronavirus. Blaine Maxwell gives you a look at one of those workers, his mother Katie, who just happens to work at the COVID unit at IU Health Bloomington.
COVID-19 has affected just about how everything operates in one way or another. However, there is one type of place where COVID has dominated how they operate: the hospitals. Doctors and nurses live among us, like Katie Maxwell, an artesian parent who witnesses COVID every workday.
I am the manager of clinical operations of IU Bloomington, the medical surgical observation unit. And as of March of 2020, it is better known as the COVID unit. Many of our patients require extensive nursing care, and it's very taxing as the patients are fairly debilitated. It takes all of their energy and efforts to breathe, and so the nurse has to perform a lot of the activities of daily living for the patients. A COVID patient, they're not in the hospital just a couple of days. They're in the hospital a month, 2 months. And so the nursing staff develops a relationship with the patient and with the patient's family. And so it's very heartbreaking when, the patient does succumb to the virus and the illness. But it's also very, very rewarding. We've had the wonderful success stories where they've got to leave the hospital and they're on the road to recovery. But, I'm sad to say that we experience more patients not leaving than who do get to leave. Truly want the public to understand it's real. The healthcare workers are strained. As COVID is rampaging everywhere and, in the hospital where there's COVID patients everywhere, the staff are contracting COVID. So we're even working with a shorter workforce. Just be mindful of what the healthcare worker is going through.
There is some light, as the vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna could be approved for use by the FDA as early as today. However, Maxwell says the release of the vaccine will not be the end-all to COVID.
I really want to caution folks of just holding on to when the vaccine and, that everything will be better once the vaccine comes out. I mean, the bottom line is this is science, and science takes years of, and the scientific method, just that trial and error and so we haven't had enough time with COVID to know for sure everything about the virus. A vaccine, hopefully we can get one that is really specific to the various mutations of COVID and, vaccinate and we have less people coming down, hopefully so violently ill, and less people, contracting the virus. I imagine COVID will experience these peaks and valleys. What I'm fearful of is when maybe our numbers stabilize or go down a little bit, people will become COVID fatigued and then think, okay, it's better, now we can go back to our normal way of life. And I mean, honestly, this is a marathon. A big marathon. It's not by definitely any measure a sprint. And so folks have to keep these measures up. And we can't just hold off as soon as a vaccine is administered and we're vaccinating people, letting our guard down. This is going to be with us into 2021. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
Vaccines are expected to be available for IU Health, other healthcare workers, public safety personnel, and those with urgent health issues by mid-December. IU Health workers will not be required to get the vaccine, but IU Health South Central Region President Brian Shockney says it is strongly encouraged. For Mhs Rewind, I'm Blaine Maxwell.
The Martinsville Choral Department held their annual Christmas concert last night in the auditorium. The choir practiced social distancing and spectator seating was limited to parents or guardians. The band and orchestra will have their Christmas concert next Thursday. The girls basketball team picked up another win last night over Greenwood. They're off to a great start this season for their new head coach. Dylan Roden has a closer look.
Dave Dorsett has been coaching for 36 years. He's coached boys and girls at all levels, from middle school through high school. He coached the girls varsity at Eminence in 2010 and 2011. And nearly 10 years later, he's the head coach at Martinsville. And he's led the Artesians to a 7-1 start.
Well, we've been working pretty hard for about 18 weeks, conditioning, working on drills and fundamentals, and trying to battle through this pandemic and bounce our kids around and keep them in shape, keep them healthy. Great group of kids too. Good, hard-working kids is what's got us off to a good start.
I think we all just have great chemistry. We make the extra pass. We don't care about points. We love playing with each other and having fun.
I think it's because the coaching staff, all the coaches, pushed us, like I said, to work hard. We never get a day off. We always have to go full speed and all out in practices.
The Artesians like to play fast offensively. They average 65 points a game, they move the ball a lot, and everyone is involved.
Our strength is when we run and we get the ball up, because we're so fast, we can beat all the teams up the court. And we're just going to have to keep sharing the ball and being unselfish. We're really good at being unselfish.
They like to pressure the ball on defense and pressure the ball the entire game. They're outscoring their opponents by 17 points a night.
We're going to continue, obviously, to have to work hard and, just play our game the way we know we can or whatever. And we're going to have to play together still, and I think our chemistry will come along.
Well, we gotta keep our good chemistry. We gotta keep everybody on the same page. Got to keep everybody healthy, and got to keep everybody in shape, and just continue building that success factor, and share the ball, and not be selfish on the floor, as well as not selfish off the floor.
The girls travel to Center Grove on Tuesday and look to continue their hot start Tuesday against the Trojans. For MHS Rewind, I'm Dylan Roden.
The boys basketball team opened their season the day after Thanksgiving.
Boys basketball is back.
We're going to have a good season. I think we're going to surprise some people.
The team started off this year strong, defeating Eminence 100-37.
I think this year's team's much more mature. I mean, they're a lot more confident in what they have when they come to the court. They're more certain of themselves. You can tell that already. I think they trust each other. So there's an element of team that we may or may not have had last year at all times. So I think everything's a positive right now in terms of where we're at and what we're doing.
Last year, the Artesians finished 1-22, with their lone win coming against Eminence.
Weren't satisfied, weren't happy, disappointing season as far as wins and losses go for us last year. So, we've definitely used that as motivation.
This year, the boys are confident. They have a good group of young guys and some senior leadership.
We have high hopes for this season. We think that we could win sectionals, win conference, just set our goals high, try to get a winning record.
I'm not sure how we'll be in terms of wins and losses, but I think we'll be much better. I think we'll be a team that'll be competitive. I think we'll be a team that'll community to be proud of when it's all said and done. And we play in a tough league. Our mid-state conference is as good as it's ever been. We play in one of the toughest sectionals in the state.
Success comes with hard work and good play. And so far, Coach Staggs is impressed with everyone.
Well, I think Caleb Cheatham has really came out, and you can tell he's done a lot of work in the offseason, and he's improved tremendously. Wyatt Schrake's been a big plus for us, transfer from Monrovia, and he gives us something that we may or may not have had before. And so, but I think overall, I think our seniors in general have been solid, and I think they're looking forward to a good year.
Martinsville dropped both their games last weekend, and unfortunately, they had to shut down the program this week due to COVID-related reasons. They won't be back in action until after break on January 2nd when they travel to Seymour.
And finally tonight, the Martinsville softball field has a new name. It's now officially Roden Field in honor of longtime softball coach Ken Roden. Roden passed away unexpectedly this summer, and the school board voted to rename the field in November. Roden's wife Teresa and their children joined family and friends at a special ceremony last month. Roden won back-to-back state titles in 2005 and 2006.
That just about wraps it up for this edition of MHS Rewind. Be sure to check out our latest short films on the MHS Rewind YouTube channel. Gone Squatchin' is our traditional comedy about a Bigfoot hunt, but Ghost Town is a supernatural thriller that you'll want to watch with the lights out.
Cole, let me tell you, I watched the first one, may or may not have wet my britches. The second one, chills down my spine.
Well, make sure to check those out if you haven't already. For Braxton Dilly and the rest of the RTV2 class, I'm Cole Meyer.
Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.